Welcome to the deep dive. Today we are diving into a classic.
It is a classic.
It's probably on your grad school reading list.
It's probably on everybody's grad school reading list at some point or another.
The Mcdonaldization of Society by George Ritzer.
Absolutely, yeah.
So for today's deep dive, we're going to really focus on dissecting the core arguments of the book.
Sure.
The claims that he's making, the data that he's using, the methodology, and then his ultimate conclusions.
Sounds good.
So if you're looking for like a really sharp and focused understanding of this book, you're in the right place.
I like it. I like it.
So before we get to the Golden Arches themselves, Ritzer kind of takes us back a little bit to the work of Max Weber.
Okay.
Specifically his concept of the iron cage of rationality.
Okay.
Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So Weber, he was really concerned about, the rise of bureaucracies in the 20th century and how they were sort of trapping individuals in systems that were very rigid and impersonal.
Right. And I always think of like with the iron cage, like there's no escape. Like
it's a powerful metaphor.
It's a very powerful image.
And it's very evocative of what he's trying to...
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so Ritzer kind of takes that and uses that as a foundation for understanding really what Mcdonaldization is.
He sees it as kind of the ultimate expression of that iron cage.
Right. And it's interesting because he points to some examples that predate McDonald's as a corporation as this big global phenomenon.
Yeah, like what kind of things?
So he talks about things like Henry Ford's assembly line.
Interesting. Yeah.
And I mean, obviously that was revolutionary.
In terms of production, absolutely.
Exactly. But at what cost?
Right, right. And that's what Ritzer's getting at is that, there are these sort of hidden costs to this pursuit of efficiency.
Yeah. And he even mentions Frederick Taylor.
Oh, yeah. With his scientific management.
Scientific management.
It's the one best way to do everything.
Yes. Yeah. Find the one best way, and then everyone's going to do it that one best way.
Exactly. And, time and motion studies and all of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating how he kind of connects these very...
That's one of the things that's so brilliant about Ritzer's work is that he's able to connect these seemingly disparate things and show how they're all part of this broader trend of rationalization.
Yes. And so he goes from these factories to these fast food restaurants, and he's like, what is the through line here?
Yeah.
What is the thing that connects all of these?
And it's not just those things either. I mean, he even talks about things like suburbia.
Right.
Those mass-produced housing development?
Yes. Like Levittown.
Levittown, exactly.
Yes.
Where everything's the same.
Cookie cutter houses.
Yeah.
All exactly the same.
Designed for efficiency and predictability.
Yes.
Just like a fast food restaurant.
It's wild.
It's wild when you think about it.
And then he talks about shopping malls.
Oh, yeah, the cathedrals of consumption.
These enclosed spaces that are filled with chain stores and the same stores that you can find anywhere.
Predictability and control. That's what it's all about.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he's kind of setting the stage.
He's building up to his main argument.
Right.
Yeah.
He's giving us all of this historical context to show that these principles of rationalization were already taking root.
Long before McDonald's became a global phenomenon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so with this historical context in mind, let's dive into the heart of Ritzer's argument.
Let's do it.
What is McDonaldization?
So Ritzer's central thesis is that the principles of the fast food restaurant, with McDonald's as the archetype, are increasingly dominating more and more sectors of society.
He's not just talking about burgers and fries here.
No, he's not.
He's talking about
education, healthcare, travel.
Right.
Even our personal relationships.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
So how does this happen?
So Ritzer argues that these diverse aspects of life are being shaped by the same 4 key dimensions of McDonaldization.
Okay, give me the 4.
All right, so we've got efficiency, calculability, predictability, and control.
Okay, so let's break those down one by one.
All right, sounds good.
Let's start with efficiency.
Okay, so efficiency in a McDonaldized system is all about streamlining processes to minimize time and effort.
Okay.
And Ritzer actually says in the book that McDonald's has attempted to make everything as efficient as possible.
Right.
Both for the customer and the corporation.
And you see this like everywhere. Like think about the drive-through window.
Oh, the classic drive-through.
I mean, you can order, pay, and receive your food all without leaving your car.
It's the epitome of efficiency.
It truly is.
Yeah.
But Ritzer's quick to point out that this efficiency often comes at a cost.
There's always a trade-off.
What kind of cost?
Well, think about the food itself.
Okay.
The simplified menus, the standardized food preparation methods can lead to a loss of quality and variety.
Okay, so that's efficiency.
That's efficiency.
Let's move on to calculability.
Okay, calculability is all about quantity over quality.
So everything's measured, everything's quantified.
Everything's got a number attached to it.
I see.
Yeah.
Like the Big Mac.
Oh, yeah.
It's not about like savoring this unique culinary experience.
It's about consuming a standardized product
right.
that meets certain measurable criteria.
So it's X amount of meat, X amount of special sauce.
Yeah, it's all about the numbers.
2 all-beef patties.
That's correct.
Special sauce,
right.
lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions.
And a sesame seed bun.
On a sesame seed bun.
Yeah, you know it by heart. That's calculability in action.
And he gives some specific examples.
Well, yeah, he doesn't just stick to fast food.
Of calculability outside of just the fast food industry.
He talks about universities, for example.
Okay.
And he says, in the McDonaldized university, calculability is manifested in the emphasis on quantifiable measures, such as student credit hours, cost effectiveness, and graduation rates.
So we're taking these really complex human experiences
Exactly.
and we're boiling them down to numbers.
That's right.
And statistics.
It's the reduction of complexity to simple metrics.
Okay, so we've got efficiency, we've got calculability.
What's next?
The third dimension of McDonaldization
Hit me with it.
Is predictability.
Predictability. Ah, yes.
What does that mean?
So predictability means creating a uniform and standardized experience no matter where you go.
So think about like chain hotels or motels.
Oh, yeah. Those places where you know exactly what you're going to get.
You walk in and it's the same amenities, same decor.
The same little soaps and shampoos.
Same continental breakfast.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter if you're in
coast to coast,
California or Maine.
It's all the same.
It's going to be the same.
That's predictability.
And I even think about like those scripted interactions that you have with employees at fast food restaurants.
Like, hi, welcome to McDonald's. Can I take your order?
Right.
Would you like fries with that?
It's like every single time it's the same.
It's all predetermined.
It's standardized.
Yeah. And you know what? Yeah. It's not just the words. It's the tone of voice, the body language. It's all part of the script.
It's all very controlled.
It's all about creating that sense of familiarity and comfort.
Right.
Even if you're in a completely unfamiliar environment.
Even if you've never been to that McDonald's before.
Exactly.
You know what to expect.
You know exactly what to expect.
All right. So we've got efficiency, calculability, predictability.
And last but not least.
Hit me with the last one. Ooh, control. This is a big one.
This is a big one.
So what does control look like?
So control is all about using technology and standardized procedures to minimize human error and ensure consistency.
Okay.
So think about those automated French fry machines or the pre-programmed cash registers that you see everywhere.
I mean, you can't mess up.
You can't mess up.
If a machine is doing it for you.
Exactly. It takes the human element out of it.
It's all very calculated.
And this applies to both the workers and the consumers.
Okay.
The workers are often trained to perform a very limited set of tasks in a very controlled environment.
And the consumers are kind of ushered through this
They're guided through a predetermined path.
Predetermined path.
Yeah.
You order, you pay, you get your food, you eat.
Exactly.
You leave.
It's a very streamlined process.
All right. So we've got our 4 dimensions.
Right.
Efficiency, calculability, predictability, and control.
The 4 pillars of McDonaldization.
And these are the defining features.
According to Ritzer.
Of McDonaldization.
And he argues that while these principles may have some initial benefits, they ultimately lead to a host of irrational consequences. But we'll delve into those in the next part of our deep dive.
We'll see you next time.
See you then. Irrationality of rationality.
It does sound kind of like a paradox.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It's kind of a...
Yeah. So how can a system that is designed to be so rational end up being irrational?
Well, Ritzer argues that the very principles that make McDonaldized systems so efficient and predictable can also lead to some really unexpected and often negative consequences.
Like what?
Well, for one thing, these systems can actually create new inefficiencies.
Wait, you're telling me that efficiency leads to inefficiency?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Right. Okay, give me an example.
Okay, so Ritzer uses the example of ATMs. You know those machines that were supposed to make banking faster?
Yeah, more convenient.
More convenient, exactly.
Yeah.
But what often happens, you end up with long lines of people.
Right.
Waiting to use the ATM.
Especially at like peak time.
Especially during peak hours, yeah. So it's like the bottleneck just shifts from the teller window to the ATM.
Instead of like eliminating waiting time, it just creates a different kind of waiting time.
Exactly.
Right,
yeah, it's just a different form of waiting.
That's just ATMs, right?
That's just ATMs, but it's not just ATMs. Think about self-checkout lines at the grocery store.
Oh my God, yeah.
Right? Sometimes it feels like it takes longer to scan and bag everything yourself.
Way longer.
Than it would if you just went through a regular checkout line.
Yes, and then there's those automated phone systems.
Oh, don't even get me started on those.
Like press 1 for this, press 2 for that, press 9 to go back to the main menu.
Like, it's infuriating.
It's the worst.
Yeah, it's the irrationality of rationality in action.
Okay, so inefficiency is one of those unintended consequences.
That's one of them, yeah.
Of Mcdonaldization. What's another?
How about dehumanization?
Oh, yeah, big time.
Yeah. Both workers and customers can end up feeling like cogs in a machine.
Right.
In these highly standardized, controlled environments.
It's like you're just a number. You're just a transaction.
Exactly. You're not a person anymore. You're just a unit of labor or a unit of consumption.
Right. And you think about the workers.
Yeah.
I mean, they're often trained to do these very specific tasks.
Mm-hmm. Very specific way.
In a very specific way.
Little room for creativity or individual expression.
Right. Like there's no room for like, oh, I'm going to do it my way.
No, it's all about following the script.
You're going to do it this way.
Yeah. And they're constantly being monitored and evaluated based on these quantifiable metrics.
Like how many burgers can you flip per minute?
Exactly. How many customers can you process per hour?
Right.
It's all about speed and efficiency.
And I'm sure that's got to be so alienating.
It can be incredibly alienating.
Yeah. Right. And on the flip side, the customer loses that human connection, that sense of personal interaction.
You're just interacting with a system.
Right. It's like those scripted greetings and farewell.
Hi, welcome to McDonald's. Can I take your order?
Right. And like the same questions over and over again.
Would you like fries with that?
Right.
Every single time.
I mean, it's efficient.
It is efficient.
It is predictable, but...
It is also dehumanizing.
It's also very dehumanizing.
Yeah, you lose that sense of human connection.
Yeah, and, you know, even if you want to, like, deviate from the script a little bit and say, oh, can I have my burger cooked medium?
You're throwing a wrench in the works.
Like, it throws everything off.
Exactly. It's all about conformity, fitting into that predetermined mold.
Okay, so we've got inefficiency, we've got dehumanization. What else?
What about the illusion of choice? Oh, yeah. You might have a menu with like 15 different items.
Right.
But they're all variations on the same basic theme.
It's like those shopping malls where every store is basically selling the same stuff.
Right. It's like you feel like you have all this choice.
Yeah, but it's really just more of the same.
But it's really just more the same.
It's a carefully constructed illusion.
And I feel like that's almost more limiting than having like a genuinely smaller selection.
I think Ritzer would agree with you on that.
Really?
Yeah. He argues that this illusion of choice can actually be more constraining.
Because it makes you think you have all this freedom.
Right, you think you have all of these options.
But you don't, really.
But you don't really.
Okay, so inefficiency, dehumanization, illusion of choice.
And don't forget about the health and environmental concerns.
Oh, right, like all of those negative impacts.
The drive for cheap, mass-produced food.
Right.
Can have some pretty serious consequences.
And he brings up like the McLibel case in the UK.
Oh, yeah, that was a fascinating case. McDonald's got sued for like...
Yeah, they were sued for making misleading claims about the nutritional value of their food.
Like they were saying it was healthier than it was.
Right. It was a classic example of how the pursuit of profit and efficiency can sometimes come at the expense of consumer well-being.
And then there's all that packaging waste.
Oh, yeah. Mountains of it.
From fast food restaurants.
It's a huge environmental problem.
Okay, so Ritzer's painting a pretty bleak picture here.
He is.
Of like the irrational consequences of this very rational system.
Yeah, it's a bit of a paradox.
Yeah.
But it gets even more thought-provoking.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it gets worse.
When he starts to explore how Mcdonaldization is creeping into some really unexpected areas of life.
Okay, like what?
Like birth and death.
Wait, you're kidding, right?
I'm dead serious.
How can Mcdonaldization possibly apply to those experiences?
Well, on the birth side, he talks about the rise of fertility clinics and the increasing use of technology to control the process of conception. In vitro fertilization, genetic testing, all that stuff.
Gender selection. Yeah, all of it.
It's like we're trying to
It's like we're trying to engineer the perfect baby.
Yeah, eliminate the unknown.
Eliminate the surprises.
Even in childbirth.
Which is supposed to be this natural process.
Yeah.
But we're trying to rationalize it.
And then death.
Yeah, on the death side, he points to the rise of hospice care.
Okay.
And the increasing medicalization of the dying process.
So it's like managing death.
So we're trying to manage and control death, just like we're trying to control birth.
And he's saying that...
He's raising some pretty serious ethical questions about this trend.
Like what kind of questions?
Like, is this really about extending life?
Right.
Or just prolonging the dying process?
Are we actually helping people?
Mm-hmm.
Or are we just making them suffer longer?
Are we focusing on quantity of life over quality of life?
Yeah.
That's a tough question.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
And then he takes it even further.
Oh, yeah. He doesn't stop there.
He doesn't stop there.
No, where's he go?
He talks about how Mcdonaldization is even creeping into things like death-defying acts.
Okay, this is getting really weird.
It is kind of weird.
Like, what kind of death-defying acts?
He uses the example of Mount Everest expeditions.
Okay, those grueling climbs that used to be like...
The ultimate test of human endurance and skill.
The ultimate test, yeah.
Exactly.
Maybe.
Now you can sign up for a guided tour.
Really?
That'll basically pave the way to the summit for you.
You don't have to be like a professional climber.
Nope. They'll provide you with all the equipment.
Wow.
They'll even carry your oxygen tanks for you.
So it's not even really death-defying anymore.
Well, it's still dangerous, obviously.
Right.
But it's not the same kind of challenge.
It's a much more controlled...
It's a much more controlled experience, yeah.
Yeah.
And Ritzer points out that this rationalization of risk can actually have some unintended consequences.
What do you mean?
Well, he talks about how the overcrowding on Everest, due to all these commercial expeditions.
Oh, yeah. There's been a lot of talk about that.
Yeah, it's a problem.
Traffic jams.
Exactly. It's created these traffic jams on the mountain.
Really?
And it's even contributed to fatalities.
People are dying because there's too many people on the mountain.
That's right. It's a stark reminder that even when we try to control and manage risk, things can still go wrong.
In unexpected ways.
In unexpected and often tragic ways.
Okay, so we've seen how Mcdonaldization, while initially promising efficiency
and
predictability, can lead to all of these irrational consequences.
A whole host of them.
From inefficiency and dehumanization to this illusion of choice.
Right.
And the rationalization of like the most fundamental human experiences.
Birth, death.
Wow. That's a lot to digest.
It is a lot.
Okay, so...
But wait, there's more.
There's more.
So is there any escape from this Mick world?
Like, can we get out?
Yeah. Is there any hope?
Ritzer does offer some glimmers of hope.
Oh, well...
Yeah. He explores various forms of resistance to Mcdonaldization.
Okay.
Even using the term de-Mcdonaldization.
De-Mcdonaldization, I like that.
Yeah, it's kind of a mouthful.
So are we talking about, like, going off the grid, ditching our smartphones, and living in a self-sufficient commune?
Not necessarily.
Okay, what's he talking about?
So he starts by highlighting alternative businesses that operate outside those McDonaldized principles.
Okay, like what?
Like those independent coffee shops that roast their own beans, that have that unique local vibe.
Those places that feel like they have like soul.
Exactly.
They're not just like churning out the same latte.
No, they're doing something different.
Over and over again.
Yeah, they're putting care and attention into their craft.
Okay, so Ritzer likes those.
He mentions Ben & Jerry's as an example,
okay.
Highlighting their commitment to social and environmental responsibility.
So it's not just about the product, it's also about like...
It's about the value.
Yeah, the values behind the product. Their caring capitalism model, as they call it.
Caring capitalism, I like that.
Yeah, it's a catchy phrase.
Okay, so we've got these alternative businesses. But can they really like make a dent?
That's the big question.
In this big McDonaldized world.
Yeah, I mean, the Ritzer acknowledges the challenges they face.
Like what?
Well, as they grow,
they
often face pressure to adopt some of those same McDonaldized principles.
So they almost have to become the thing they're fighting against.
In a way, yeah, it's the classic dilemma of staying true to your values while also trying to reach a wider audience.
Okay, so it's an ongoing struggle.
It is. It's a push and pull between those forces of rationalization and those who are trying to resist it.
Okay, so we've got these alternative businesses. But what about just me as an individual?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Like, are there things that I can do
absolutely
in my daily life?
There are definitely things you can do.
to, like, push back against McDonaldization.
Ritzer would say that it starts with awareness.
The more you understand how McDonaldization works, the more you can make informed choices.
Okay, so like what?
Well, he advocates for supporting local businesses.
Okay.
Seeking out non-standardized experiences.
Okay, so like instead of going to the chain restaurant, I go to the...
You go to the local mom and pop place.
The little hole in the wall.
Exactly, the place that's doing something unique.
Okay.
And he also talks about being more mindful of those McDonaldized systems that you interact with.
Okay.
So like maybe instead of always opting for the drive-thru, you go inside and actually talk to a human being.
I see.
Or instead of just accepting those default settings on your phone, you take the time to customize them.
So it's about like making those conscious choices.
Exactly. It's about being intentional.
Prioritizing quality over quantity. Human connection over efficiency.
And maybe even embracing a little bit of unpredictability.
I can do that.
I think we all can.
Okay, so individual actions matter.
They do.
Ritzer thinks so.
Oh, he believes that those small choices, when multiplied across millions of people, can actually start to shift the balance.
Oh, so it's not all doom and gloom.
No, it's not.
We have some agency here.
We do.
Okay, good.
We have the power to shape the world around us.
I like this.
Even in the face of powerful forces like McDonaldization.
Okay, so we've talked about alternative businesses. We've talked about individual actions.
Right.
What about like organized resistance?
Oh, yeah. Ritzer talked about that too.
Like those activist groups that protest against like big corporations and globalization.
Exactly. He specifically mentions slow food.
Slow food.
Yeah. It's a movement that promotes regional cuisines.
Okay.
Sustainable agriculture and the pleasure of savoring food. That's been prepared with care and attention.
So it's like the opposite of fast food.
It's the antithesis of fast food. Yeah, it's about slowing down, appreciating the process.
I like it.
And then there's Sprawl Busters.
Sprawl Busters.
Yeah, they're a group that fights against...
What do they fight against?
They challenge those big box stores and chain retailers that are driving out local businesses and contributing to urban sprawl.
Okay, so they're trying to like preserve...
They're trying to preserve those unique independent businesses that give communities their character.
I like that.
Yeah, they're fighting for a more diverse and vibrant landscape.
Okay, so we've got all these different ways to resist McDonaldization. So what's Ritzer's final conclusion? Like, what does he think is going to happen?
Well, he doesn't give us a definitive answer.
Okay.
But he leaves us with a sense that the future of McDonaldization is not predetermined.
Okay.
It's an ongoing process, a dynamic tension between those forces pushing for greater efficiency and control and those who are seeking to preserve those aspects of human experience that resist standardization.
So it's up to us.
It is.
To decide what kind of world we want to live in.
Exactly. We have a choice.
That's a powerful message.
I think so, too.
Well, that's a wrap on our deep dive into the Mcdonaldization of society.
Hope you enjoyed it.
We hope you found it insightful.
Yeah, and if you want to keep the conversation going,
head on over
to the Sociology Droids forum.
And let us know your thoughts.